Welcome to the Man Cave Podcast with Dan Casper.
It is time for our Outdoor Tidbits with our good buddy, Mr. Jake Bolks, who is joining us on the phone this fine Thursday morning. Jake, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Not too bad, buddy. Not too bad. Hey, how did the opening weekend go last week for fishing around here for you?
Pretty good. I mean, minus the rain storm we had like that Saturday morning, afternoon. It was pretty busy. A lot of people catching fish. I was out on a couple of different lakes, and people were catching fish on Lake Wissota and the rivers over there, catching some walleye, and most people just generally had a good time. Again, some people stuck it out through that first rainstorm, but besides that, it was a pretty nice Saturday afternoon and all-day Sunday.
Hey, Jake, I'm not a fisherman. I was thinking, the ice fishing wasn't the best this year. We didn't have a lot of good ice. What does that mean for now we're in the open water fishing, obviously, but what does that mean? So we can expect a lot more fish to be available because they weren't taken through the ice this year? Or do you monitor that, or is it just nature?
Kind of just nature. It'll be, I'm sure the fisheries biologist maybe made a note. Maybe I haven't asked per se to see if, they saw a lot more numbers this year or this or that. But what I do know is there should be more fish in the sense of obviously there's less harvest from humans, but there's less chances of fish having or lakes having fish kills, when the ice gets too thick on some of the smaller lakes and stuff like that, and, it takes away the oxygen. So overall, just like turkeys, just like deer, just like, the mammals, the fish should have done pretty good in the winter, being able to survive and such. The biggest difference would be, the water temperatures and, like, the time we typically go out to, chase them when they're spawning, this and that, because the water's warmed up quicker, so the spawns probably moved up quicker this year as well.
Jake, I know we had some, different timing wise for different species and such. Is there anything new or anything, I guess, opening up, or is it everything pretty much free? I don't want to say free for the taking, but anything, anything opening up?
It's all open. Go get them all.
Go get them all.
So for the next couple of weeks, there's nothing too crazy. The opening weekend, or opening day, most things generally inland open up, especially south of Highway 10. If you're some of the northern zones, whether it's north of Highway 10 or in the northern Bass Zone, there are some dates where you have to wait to harvest some fish or even fish for them. So, for example, the muskie season up here, like Lake Wissota or north isn't open yet. That's a couple more weeks out. They have a later start date for muskie. So it's important to watch that. We did contact someone out there that was throwing big old baits for muskie when we checked them on Lake Wissota this weekend, and he was, oblivious to the regulation because he didn't look at the regulations. Again, you've heard me a million times say, read the regs every year. So check the dates, check the seasons. But for the most part, most things are open except for some northern zones for bass harvest or muskie fishing.
Okay. We still got spring turkey going on too, and you sent me an interesting nugget about some turkey hunters out there too.
Yeah, the turkey season's been really good. I've seen a lot of people harvesting birds. I'm sure there's people that have other experiences or missed or something like that. But there's a lot of birds being taken this year, at least locally. So I'm curious to see what the harvest numbers are going to be at the end of the season. But with that, we have seen an uptake of people self-reporting when they make a mistake, which is awesome. Truly, it's really good. It stinks. It's a crappy situation if someone's out hunting, they have one tag and they shoot multiple birds at the same time. Or if they shoot a bird and then they look at their tag to register and they realize they hunted a week early, or late, I guess, could be. But usually it's people hunting a season or two early because they misread their tag. So we've seen a lot of people calling our information line, our hotline, going to the service centers or calling their local warden and self-reporting that they made a mistake. And that's really good because in that instance, we can really work with people. I don't want to say, it's an automatic warning or anything like that, but it's very rare to get, it's very rare to get enforcement action if you're self-reporting a violation, unless there's some exigent circumstances or something else that we're all kind of working through. If you accidentally shot a second bird, if you accidentally hunted early, we might have to seize that extra bird or seize a bird if it's shot out of season, but it might save you a $300 or $400 ticket, and it's kind of just a good educational and learning lesson. So I'm glad to see people are calling in. It's good for us not to have to come to houses after the season, knock on doors, and if someone made an honest mistake, I'd rather give them a warning than come by 2 weeks later, seize their turkey, and then have to write a ticket because they didn't report it.
Mm-hmm.
Jake, I've had people ask me, and I don't know, the confiscated birds, deer, whatever, what do you do with those?
Luckily, the community table here in Eau Claire takes not professionally processed food. Mm-hmm. So, especially when it comes to turkeys, I can breast them out. Typically, if I seize one and it's in good condition, I'll breast it out, take the thighs and legs just like I do my own, and then freeze them. And then I a couple times a year, I go down to the community table and donate them there. The other food pantries in town, different places, will take professionally processed stuff that we seize, but most of them don't take if you did it at your house or if the warden did it. But the community table does, which is great, so we're able to bring in wild game to them quite often.
All right.
So do you have a partnership with professional processors, or if they don't take it, they throw that carcass away? What do they do with it?
It all depends. We can, the only professional or the only contracts we have is the deer season. I'm sure you guys have heard or talked about donating a deer, mm-hmm. where you can harvest them, bring them to local meat markets that process them, and then donate them out to the community. That's the only one we have when it comes to animals. Typically, it all depends. Sometimes we have to keep the animals because it's evidence. At the end of the day, it's evidence. And if someone wants to contest it or whatnot, we might need it for court. So a lot of times we have to keep them in our freezers until the court case is adjudicated. Sometimes they're in a condition where they're not safe to eat, or we wouldn't want to eat them or give them to people for safety reasons. So we dispose of them properly. But then another option we have is we are allowed to, per state law, sell it, because the title of any animal taken illegally defaults back to the state. But then there's a law that allows us to sell it for, at a minimum of $10 or however expensive it is, depending on what the meat is or what the rack is or whatever. We can sell it. Typically, we try to sell everything for the lowest amount, like $10. And so we could sell a turkey to someone that needs it, or a lot of times when we have deer, we bring them to people that need food or can't afford, this or that, and we either donate it or sell it to them for $10.
Because you've dropped off deer at our good friends at Mike's Star Market before too, right?
Yep. We've dropped them off at Mike's there. There used to be a couple more locally that were part of that deer donation program, but Mike's is the last one, so I'm really glad that he's a part of it because it's our only access to it here in the Chippewa Valley.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But we keep a running deer list. The wardens do, and my team does, where we keep a running deer list. So if we get a deer all of a sudden and we need to get it sold or get it to someone that needs one, we'll reach out to them.
Jake, speaking of deer here quickly, because it's fawn season too, right? So I'm sure a lot of people are going to be seeing fawns out there. So what would be, because you don't want to touch a fawn if you see it, right? I mean, so what's kind of maybe
Correct.
If you see a fawn by itself, what should people do? Would you leave it alone? Because I got to mention, Mom's probably not too far away.
Yeah. So the thing the DNR has is keep wildlife wild. So if you ever think of that, you see something, a baby bird, a baby deer, a baby muskrat, whatever. Keep wildlife wild. So the best case scenario for any animal is that you leave it alone, you give it space, you let the mom come in at night or during the day or when no one's around and take care of the animal or move it. Now, if it's a fawn and it's laying on the sidewalk along, downtown Eau Claire or something like that, which I've had before, where the mom gave birth literally like on Water Street almost.
Wow.
Then we have to help that animal, get away from there so it can be safe. But typically, we can't rehab deer, and there's only like one place in the state that takes fawns, and after once fawns start dropping it seems like that place fills up in like a day or two. So we like to try to just leave them alone. What we tell everyone is leave it alone. If it's in your backyard, just, don't let your dogs go and harass it. Usually the mom comes in at night to move them or feed them. If you have it in a fenced-in yard, make sure at night you leave one of the doors open to your fence so they can get out. It seems like lately, the last couple of years, I've been going to houses where the fawn's in there and people call me like, it won't leave, but they don't open a door for it to leave during the nighttime. But the best thing to do is just leave it alone. The moms are usually in the area, and basically once we get involved, it's a lot less chance of survival, unfortunately, for these animals, just because sometimes they can be rehabbed, sometimes they can't. Sometimes if they get moved, then they don't have, a parent to help raise them and stuff like that. So just keep them wild.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know they're cute and that, but don't pick them up and touch them, because then they got that human scent on there, right? And then mom might not want to come by it again.
Yeah, I don't know. I was reading some stuff. I was reading some documents last year that there's scent, there's not scent. There's different things about it. At the end of the day, when humans touch them, whether or not that imprints are scent on them or not, what it truly does, especially if that mom is in the area, is like the moms, deer see us as predators. So the second we go out there and we're standing on top of a deer or we pick it up, it's just like if some bear grabs one of our kids, we're gonna think like, uh-oh. So once you go and talk, or once you go and interact with that fawn or animal, now the parents see a predator grabbing it, and now they might not want to come back and get it, or they might think it's dead and move on, and all these different things, and it just really hinders the chance of that animal surviving. So they're really cute, they're really cool. Take pictures from a distance. What I will say is, if you do have like a fawn and it literally has not moved in a couple days, then call the DNR or a wildlife switchboard. If you have an animal that's in a precarious spot, then we're going to have to do something about it, so it has a better chance. But if it's just in your backyard, or if it's in a park or somewhere where it can safely just sit there and be chill, just leave it there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know sometimes, like last year I was on a golf course and saw one there, it kind of scared me. It was right in the rough, and I'm like, you feel bad because it's got the puppy eye dog eyes and all that. It's like, all right, Dan, it's okay. It's okay. Let it go. So
yeah, exactly. It'll be all right. It's just hanging out. Mm-hmm. Just like you're enjoying the golf course, it's enjoying the golf course.
See, I like that mindset right there. So, Jake, good stuff as always, buddy. We appreciate it, and
of course,
I'll let you know if I have any luck with my turkey season coming up here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't heard anything. Which season do you have?
I it's not this week. It's next week. I got one of the later ones.
So you got the fifth season.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that's...
there's plenty of turkeys.
The last one I got was that same time of year, so I'm hoping, history means something here.
Jake, have you got preliminary numbers as far as you said earlier, it's going well, but do you have preliminary numbers that they're taking on number of birds?
Yeah, I haven't seen any preliminary numbers. I don't think it's as publicly exciting, so I don't think they run the numbers all the time like they do with deer during the deer season. But there's definitely, we do a turkey camp with a bunch of retired wardens and friends and local wardens, and yesterday they went out in the county forest and they whopped a bunch of them, so they did pretty good. So there's plenty of birds. And then also, Bob, I was thinking about it on the elk stuff. I read something this week where they're not going to have any numbers or information on that elk season until the next Natural Resource Board. I saw that at the next NRB meeting, they are going to present the numbers or quotas or licenses or however you want to explain it, to the Natural Resource Board, and I think they're going to make some decisions or discuss it then.
Okay, because I know that, the 31st of May is the deadline for applying for this year's hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you definitely want to get them in, but there's no numbers that I'm hearing until the next Natural Resource Board.
All right, there you go. Inside info from our good buddy Jake. Jake, we appreciate it as always, man, and we'll catch up with you again soon, okay?
Sounds great.
There you go. Jake Bolks, Conservation Warden for the state of Wisconsin.